Welcome guys to this tutorial. So the whole purpose of this tutorial is to show you the hardware of the Arduino. So this one I've already attached to the robot that I'm trying to build. You can see the development board I've already attached there that I'll be using to build the external circuit, and I have some wheels. The other one is off, but what I wanted to show you was actually this part. It's the Arduino Uno that we'll be using, and I just wanted to take you through some of the hardware components or the parts of the Arduino. So first up here we have the digital pins, digital input and output pins. The digital input and output pins. So if you go to my website and read the blog about the hardware of the Arduino, I explain more in detail of the functions of each of these pins. But using these pins, you can be able to send digital logical values like 1 and 0 in to the Arduino, and also out to control something like an LED or a switch, something like that. So typically when we want to use a switch and want to switch it on and off, we usually use a digital input or output pin. So you'll see some of the pins here, like 3, and I'm not sure if it's clear. You'll see 3, 5, 6. Those are the PWM, pulse width modulation pins, which means that they can also be used for pulse width modulation. Okay, now this rectangle black thing, that is the Atmel micro controller. It's the 328. Let me just check. It's 328. Yeah, 328 microcontroller. And then here we have the jack barrel power port. So you can connect an AC adapter here to this port. You can connect, let me just show you how it looks like. So you can connect an AC adapter here to power the Arduino. Alternatively, you can use a USB. So the Arduino comes with a USB port and also a USB cable that you can use to power it using a laptop, and that's what I usually do. So in this tutorial I'm gonna show you when we start programming the Arduino, when I actually use a USB cable to power it and to program using serial communication. So here, let me just bring this closer. You will see these are the analog pins. Here we have I think this is A5, A0, A1, so we have 5 analog pins. And then here, these are the special input outputs. So I have the 5 volts and 3.3 output pins. So what that means is that if we want to power something externally with 3.3 volts or more, we can use these pins. So we can use the 5 volts to power an external circuit. And then here at V in, if say for example we want to make a robot like this one, a mobile robot, we can also use batteries. So what we would do is that we would create an external circuit here, and have batteries, which I will show you later on during the tutorial series. And then we can connect it to V in and also connect the other side to ground, and we'll be able to power this Arduino board, and we don't need to actually connect it to a USB cable. I know a lot of people ask me, do we need to connect the Arduino to a laptop in order for it to work? No, you can actually use batteries, preferably maybe 12 volts. That will also work. So in order to power that, we need to use V in, this pin here, V in, and then next to that is ground. So as you know guys, in circuits and in electronics you need to have ground. So this will be our ground, and there's another ground here forgot to mention it when I was dealing with the digital pins that you can also use. And then next to ground you have the analog reference. So you can see it's marked with a ref. I hope you can see it. So that is typically used when we have when we do ADC, analog to digital conversion, when we want to use an external voltage as reference. So most of the time it's not necessary, but sometimes you might want to use your own voltage reference for analog to digital conversion. And the other things we can have a look at is actually the LEDs. So we have an LED here. This one indicates when the power is on. So when you switch the Arduino on, it should flash, and when it flashes, it shows you that it's on. And then here we have the TX, and then we have the RX. So as I mentioned in the article that I wrote on my website, that TX stands for transmit and RX stands for receive. So when during serial communication between the Arduino and your laptop, and that is when you are coding, the TX will flash, meaning that it's transmitting something. The Arduino is transmitting something to the computer or the laptop, and then RX will flash when the Arduino is receiving data from the laptop, and that is just serial communication. We will deal with that later when we do the software part of the Arduino. And so here we have the reset button. So in case you mess things up or you make a mistake, you can always reset the Arduino. So all the programmed memory will be deleted, and you will be able to start from fresh and from the default settings of the Arduino. So that's pretty much the Arduino Uno. So here this side we have the analog side. Let me see if I dealt with all of them, the pins. Yes, these are the analog side. We have the analog. So the analog, once again, it means that we can connect a sensor here. So a digital and an analog are different pins. So a digital pin can only read in digital values, like whether it's on or off. But an analog pin can read continuous signals. So it can read voltages between up to decimal places and then convert them digitally, because this microcontroller has an ADC inside. And perhaps we will also deal with ADC conversion in a separate video. But basically, if we have a sensor, say for example a temperature sensor, we need to connect it to the analog pins instead of the digital pins. But if we have a switch or an LED, we can connect it to the digital pins. So I hope that gives you an idea of when we use the analog pins and when we use the digital pins. So yeah, this is the Arduino Uno.